I just felt entitled to it as well. It was just dysfunctional from day one.
You know, as kids, I used to put on heels. I used to do all those things. I try to put on whatever my sisters wear. When all my sisters did, I try to do those things.
They went to the back and there was a bunch of old and young boys back there, all naked in the Wade house. So I find it funny that Gabrielle's sitting there talking about Boosie.
Word on the street is that Gabrielle Union might be gearing up to drop some divorce papers on Dwyane Wade. And the whispers say it's not just your typical cheating scandal. Allegedly, she caught him stepping out, but not with another woman, with a man. Now, one blind item already spilled tea claiming Dwyane was sneaking around with some mystery woman. But news sources are buzzing that things might have gone down a whole different lane, pointing to him messing around with a dude. For people who've been paying close attention, this twist doesn't come as a shock at all. Some fans are even speculating that Gabrielle always knew Dwyane was bisexual, but she chose to keep it quiet so it wouldn't explode in the public eye. And the chatter doesn't stop there. Word is, Gabrielle and Dwyane have been known to host some seriously wild parties at their mansion, with insiders hinting that what happens behind those closed doors would blow people's minds. So, is this really about to be the final chapter for Gabrielle and Dwyane? And if Gabrielle decides to talk, will she expose the full truth about Dwyane's secrets? So the buzz hasn't slowed down at all. People keep saying Gabrielle and Dwyane were throwing some very unconventional parties at their spot. Allegedly, older Hollywood heavyweights were being entertained by much younger men, and the word is, Gabrielle knew from day one that Dwyane swings both ways. Now let's be real, the rumors about Dwyane living a double life on the low aren't brand new. But lately, more than a few industry insiders have been stepping forward with claims that are straight up jaw-dropping. And these whispers didn't just pop out of nowhere, they're tied to comments from people who were once very close to Dwyane himself. Back in 2010, his former business partner, Richard Von Houtman, went public with some shocking accusations.
Gabrielle Union recently did an interview with Sway and said this.
He eats her, then does that mean she has to eat the man?
If we're talking about, equal time here.
Guys really aren't, at least the ones I know, I ain't really into it.
That's what they say.
Okay, so I don't know if I'm more surprised that she admitted that she eats booty or that he likes.
Richard said Dwyane was known for hosting substance-fueled hush-hush gatherings while he was still married to his first wife, Siobhan Funches. According to Richard, one night at Dwyane's 4-bedroom high-rise turned into a nightmare scene when the cleaning crew found the place wrecked beyond belief. I went down there and what I saw was disgusting, Richard claimed. He described the apartment as trashed and filthy, with used condoms littering the floor, bottles of champagne and hard liquor everywhere, half-smoked blunts, leftover food rotting on tables, and stains on furniture.
When it hit my doorstep at 3 years old, like I said, when me and my wife looked at each other, right? And the reason we looked at each other is because of this, as kids, I used to put on heels. I used to do all those things. I try to put on whatever my sisters wear. When all my sisters did, I try to do those things. So at first I said to myself, oh no, I did that. So I ain't just doing the things that I did. And then it kept going further and further. And then me and my wife had to look at each other and say, well, what if? And at that moment, everything that I was taught went out the window because now I'm a parent. And my sole job and my sole responsibility is to make sure that this kid grow up knowing that it's supported and is loved.
And according to Richard, this wasn't just a one-time thing. Dwyane and his crew were allegedly throwing these wild parties several times a week, with all kinds of guests being invited in. These so-called gatherings were filled with rappers and women Dwyane's crew would scoop up from clubs. And according to Richard, the wild nights didn't stop after his divorce from his first wife. Even once Gabrielle came into the picture, Richard suggested she wasn't just aware of these parties, but sometimes even joined in on the fun. Now, Richard never outright said Dwyane was hooking up with men at these events. But when you stack that against what other insiders have claimed, it makes you wonder what was really happening behind those closed doors. Adding more fuel to the fire, Dwyane's ex-wife once alleged during their divorce battle that he gave her an STD back in 2007. That same time frame just so happens to line up with when Richard claimed those notorious parties were happening nonstop. Dwyane tried to flip the script and sued his ex for defamation, but even then, the rumors about his sexuality just wouldn't die down. And here's where it gets even more eyebrow-raising. Dwyane himself unintentionally stirred the pot. In an interview that's resurfaced online, he admitted he used to dress up in women's clothes when he was younger. While showing support for his daughter Zaya after she came out as transgender, Dwyane revealed that he once enjoyed slipping into his sister's dresses and heels. That little confession had people talking all over again. Now when it comes to Dwyane's daughter Zaya, things get even messier because their parenting choices have been at the center of non-stop controversy. Dwyane's ex-wife, Siobhan, accused him and Gabrielle of pushing Zaya's gender transition for financial gain, claiming they were using their child's identity for clout and attention. Things got even more heated when Dwyane and Gabrielle filed legal papers to officially change Zaya's name and gender before she turned 18.
They ain't doing as much, I guess, now because they're getting older. I guess it just moved over to the Wade house.
And they allegedly did it without even consulting her birth mother. According to the custody agreement Siobhan had with Dwyane, she was supposed to have a say in major decisions that affected their kids. So she went to court and submitted official documents trying to block the move. But the judge ended up granting Dwyane and Gabrielle's request anyway, legally recognizing 15-year-old Zaya's new identity.
See that Gabrielle's sitting there talking shit about Boosie. Maybe you suspicious of him because of the shit that's happening in your house. Get out of here. These niggas be talking greasy on all kinds of shit. But I don't like when these so-called black Hollywood couples want to come in and then they want to sit there and play gatekeeper. Meanwhile, they're abusing and misusing all kinds of young people. And guess what? Don't nobody want to admit that they a victim. So they pretend to be friends.
Yeah.
That's when Dwyane clapped back at his ex, accusing her of being self-centered and more focused on her own feelings than her children's well-being. But his statement sparked even more outrage, with many fans flooding social media to blast him and Gabrielle. People were saying this wasn't just about parenting choices. It was about ignoring a mother's rights and keeping her completely out of life-changing decisions for her child. Fans started flipping the script, saying it was actually Dwyane and Gabrielle who were centering themselves in Zaya's journey instead of putting her first. And while all that drama was unfolding, the whispers about their unconventional marriage and those secret house parties just kept spreading. Then came Jaguar Wright, who poured even more gas on the fire during an interview. She claimed that wild, behind-closed-doors activities are a regular thing in Hollywood. And she name-dropped heavy hitters like Will and Jada, J-Lo and Mark Anthony, and now the Wades as being part of that same scene. According to Jaguar, those infamous parties basically shifted from the Smiths' home to the Wade's mansion after the whole entanglement saga blew up. Jaguar made it clear that her comments weren't about Dwyane and Gabrielle's support of Zaya's transition. Instead, she said she heard directly from young men in the industry who claimed they witnessed disturbing and questionable things at one of the Wade's house parties. And she didn't stop there. Jaguar even went at Gabrielle, blasting her for comments about Boosie and suggesting that Gabrielle was only projecting her own husband's alleged issues onto somebody else. So let's talk about Gabrielle versus Boosie, because that back and forth was wild. Boosie had already been blasting Dwyane and Gabrielle for letting Zaya transition before turning 18. But Gabrielle didn't hold back. She clapped right back at him, throwing shade and suggesting he's the one struggling with his own identity. Of course, Boosie wasn't about to let that slide. He hopped on Twitter and went straight for Gabrielle's neck, accusing her of being salty because, in his words, her husband's little secret got exposed. He wrote, LOL, the whole world know I love women, and the whole world know your husband loved D. Hope you don't think black folks look at y'all like a power couple, cause they don't. Boosie even doubled down, saying it wasn't his intention to air Dwyane out, but Gabrielle forced his hand. He claimed he had actually avoided talking about them in interviews. But once Gabrielle accused him of being in the closet, he said he had no choice but to clear the air, and he did it quick. Boosie fired off one last low blow, saying, "Go bang him with that and wait on the script, you little white girl." And that right there explains why Gabrielle never clapped back at him again. But Boosie didn't quit. He later sat down on Vlad TV, where he actually made a solid point, calling Gabrielle a hypocrite for trying to use being gay as an insult in the first place.
We will never abandon you, ever. But sometimes you're gonna have to leave. And so far, so good, you know. Sorry, Boosie. He's so preoccupied.
Yeah, he is. Very much
Almost
so.
like thou doth protest too much, little Booze.
I'm gonna look.
You got a lot of on your mind.
I mean, it's
Throw
like
that out there.
It's like Zaya and Lil Nas X live in his head.
For free, rent free.
Like what?
It's like, sir, something you want to just go ahead and tell us. This is a safe space. We can be your sanctuary.
Perhaps that safe space was not provided for him.
Meanwhile, the rumors about Dwyane and Gabrielle's alleged men-only parties started spreading like wildfire on social media. Fans began speculating that the reason Gabrielle always gets so defensive anytime her marriage is brought up is because there's something she's desperately trying to keep under wraps. Earlier this year, Gabrielle popped up on Bloomberg's Idea Generation series and was asked directly about how she deals with all the crazy rumors swirling around her and Dwyane. She brushed it off, saying none of it phases her because she only values criticism from people she actually respects. As she put it, how do I process criticism? A lot of people felt like Gabrielle was just putting on a mask, playing up that fearless girl boss energy to cover up cracks in her personal life. And now, the latest rumor swirling around is that she's seriously thinking about divorce because she's allegedly tired of living a double life and always covering for Dwyane. According to a recent blind item, Dwyane was spotted out looking cozy on what seemed like a date with a woman who definitely wasn't Gabrielle. But then the story took a wild turn when other blogs claimed it wasn't a woman at all. It was actually another man. The gossip streets went into overdrive after that, with fans speculating that Gabrielle knew from the very beginning that Dwyane had secrets he didn't want exposed. Now let's be clear, none of this has been confirmed. It's all rumor territory. But fans are convinced Gabrielle won't actually pull the plug on their marriage. Instead, they believe she'll keep riding it out no matter what, kind of like that whole bad marriage for life motto Will and Jada once bragged about. But what do you think about all this drama? Do you believe there's any truth to these shocking claims about Gabrielle and Dwyane? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to check out this next messy story.